let's talk about the missing woman, Gabby Petito. And I want to talk about her for many reasons. First of all, she's originally from Long Island. So it's a really big story here in New York because the family are New Yorkers. So it's being covered by every single small paper, local, a lot of these stories when somebody goes missing, when anybody goes missing in the country, you get on the national news, it's a big story, but you don't get every little tiny detail. And because I live in New York and she's originally from Long Island, they're interviewing like anybody who's ever known her and every family member. And everyone is doing like a deep dive into her life to figure out where she can be and what happened because we don't have a resolution yet.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you a little bit of background. So she's 22. Her name is Gabby Petito. She has a fiance named Brian Laundrie. Okay. They decided they were going to go on a cross-country trip in a van, that they were going to document the whole thing on a van life blog, and they have a YouTube channel. And judging by their social media, everything, here's social media for you. When you look at her Instagram page and his Instagram page, which of course, I did a deep dive into both.
Mm-hmm.
Everything looked happy. Everything looked great, like beautiful scenery, and they're in Kansas and they're in Wyoming and they're at this park and that park and they're kissing and they're on a beach somewhere. It all looks very happy and they're totally in love, and you're kind of with them because you're like, wow, this beautiful couple in love is traveling the country together. How romantic.
So did the trip start on Long Island in a van, and then they decided to go across the country and film it? Is that how this began?
That was always the plan.
Okay.
Just a tiny bit of background so you understand the two of them. They started dating in 2019, and he lives in Florida. So she moved to Florida to be with him.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been living in Florida. They get engaged in July of 2020. And what's really interesting, now that we know that she's missing, they get engaged and she posts on her Instagram, Brian asked me to marry him. I said, yes, you make my life unreal and every day is such a dream with you, which is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what he wrote. He wrote, my biggest fear is that one day I'll wake up and it will all have been a dream, because that is what every second has felt like since the moment we found each other, till death do us part or until I wake up. In retrospect, that's creepy.
A little bit, but I can see his point. I mean,
yeah.
She's way outside of his league.
I don't think so.
I do.
So she's 22, he's 23. They're around the same age. It's not like he's 50 and she's 22. Then you'd be like, well, that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they're both around the same age. So we hear from the mom this week that they had called off the engagement before they took this big trip because they decided they were too young to get married. So now you're wondering, like, was there already trouble in paradise? But so she was a nutritionist and she decides to quit her job, and they're going to live in this van for a few months, travel across the country, and just document the whole thing on their YouTube channel. And that's what they're going to do. Like, they want to be one of those couples that they're going to make money by being, by having this hashtag van life.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a really good job. Like, I have a little piece of some of the video that they had posted from their YouTube channel. And the entire thing, it's really well produced. There's music, they're eating, they're laughing, they're loving. Just a little tiny bit of it, just so you have a flavor of where her mind was.
I love the van.
So, we are right outside Capitol Reef right now in a free dispersed camp spot, and we've been lucky so far at all the places we've stayed, but I'd say this is one of the best so far. Since we left New York, I've only set up my hammock once, and now we're all the way in Utah, and luckily enough I was able to set up my hammock in one of these trees.
And
they're all smiles.
Like in the desert.
Very few trees.
Yeah, so they're showing the van and their food and how happy they are. And they have this cute little moment where she's making breakfast while he's doing yoga. And she realizes that the chocolate chips in the granola have melted. So it's all very rom-com, if you're only following them on social media. So here's what happened. July 2nd, they leave on this long cross-country trip. August 12th, they get stopped by police because they had a physical altercation, and a witness named Christopher was alarmed enough to call the police. Like, he saw them physically fighting. And I guess what had happened is while they were fighting, he said to her, "You take a walk that way. I'm going to take a walk this way. Let's just cool off and calm down." But by the time they did that, this eyewitness, Christopher, had already seen them having a physical altercation. And this was in Utah, where, usually that's very uncommon there.
Mm-hmm.
Like where I'm from, like last night we watched people have a physical altercation outside our window for like the 4th time this week. No one calls the police because that's just my neighborhood,
Yeah, that's called Tuesday.
Yeah, it's like a Tuesday. If it gets bad and someone's crying, yes. But in Utah, it's a big deal. So this guy, Christopher, calls the police, describes the couple, describes the van. The police track them down. Okay. So now we think everything is bliss until the body cam footage of this police investigation of the altercation is released. So let's look a little bit at the body cam footage, because it really tells a very different story than what you're seeing on social media of Gabby and Brian and their happiness. So the cop pulls them over.
Supplies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there.
So the first thing you do when domestic violence is, you can let it keep playing. I'm just going to describe.
Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so sorry.
So the first thing they do is they take the keys and put them where the driver can't get them, so he can't speed away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the second thing they do is they separate the two people to ask each one to get their side of the story. So Gabby is separated. She's brought over to the trooper's Suburban. And now he's about to ask her her side of the story.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, some days I have really bad OCD, and I was just cleaning and straightening up the back of the van before, and I was apologizing to him and saying, "I'm sorry that I'm so mean, because sometimes I have OCD and sometimes I just get really frustrated." Not like mean towards him. I guess my vibe is like I hear him like in a bad mood.
Yeah, they look like they've been stuck in a van for a while.
Yeah, no, but she's describing that she has OCD and anxiety.
I had so much work I was doing on my computer this morning,
and she's trying to keep the van clean. But it's a tiny little van, and they're nomads at this point. It's not like they have a home or a shower.
Mm-hmm.
Quit my job. I was a nutritionist. That's my job. Cool. And I just quit my job to travel across the country, and I'm trying to start a blog. I just have a blog and stuff. So I've been building my website. So I've just been really stressed, and he doesn't really believe that I could do any of it. So that's kind of been like I don't know. He's like a downer. I don't know.
So basically, they're fighting.
Yeah, they're fighting. She left her job as a nutritionist to become this blogger, this #vanlife travel blogger, basically, or vlogger, I should say, because they're putting it all on their YouTube channel. So she goes on to explain that she just got very frustrated with him. She has OCD, she has anxiety, and she understands that her OCD and anxiety makes her a little bit difficult sometimes to be around. You know what I mean? So, of course, when you separate each person, you ask each person separately. So then they go to him and they ask him what's going on.
Come on over here. You're not in any trouble right now. So, tell me what's going on.
She just gets worked up sometimes, and I try and really distance myself from her. So, like, I locked the car and I walked away from her. What happened this morning is that she's trying to start up like her own little website blog and everything. So I give her time, and we really had a nice morning, if anything. But she just got worked up because we were trying to get going and get our day going because we want to go like ours is before the separate time.
Okay. You want to tell me about those scratches on your face?
She had a cell phone in her hand. That's why I was pushing her away. Just because she wanted I locked the keys so I could walk away. I said, let's just take a breather and let's not, go anywhere. Let's just calm down for a minute because she was getting a little worked up. And then she had her phone and was trying to get the keys from me, so I got in the way. I was just trying to, I know I shouldn't push, but I was just trying to push her away to go, let's just take a minute, step back and breathe. And she got me with her phone.
Right. So as he's telling the story, the cop is observing him and sees that he has scratches on his face and scratches on his hand and says, how did you get that? And he basically says, she said she slapped him. She said, she was getting frustrated and she was like flailing around and kind of hit him. Mm-hmm. Not hard, but like she had her phone in her hand. And when you have your phone in your hand is bent, she has rings on. So he said she caught him with her rings and he had scratches on his hands also. And they say to him, should we call EMS? Mm-hmm. He's like, no. Yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm not injured. I just, they said, well, we're going to take photographs of all of your injuries because in case this is ever anything, which now we know it is, we want to make sure that it's not a he said, she said. You might decide, oh, it's nothing. We want the actual physical evidence and we need to preserve it right now in the moment. So they say, can we take photographs of your body? And he says, yes. Mm-hmm. So they pull out phones and they start taking photographs of all of his injuries is what happens next. Then they go back to her to see. Now, remember, she's sitting in the van now, right? He's put her in the Suburban and he wants to know, did Brian hit you?
Oh, so she's in the back of the police car.
She's in the back of the police car. Remember, they separate them because they need her story and his story.
Right. So then he goes back to her and asks her more questions.
He just grabbed you? Did he hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying you hit him, but I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth if he actually hit you. Because, where did he hit you? Don't worry. Be honest.
So I don't think you can hear what she's saying, but he's asking, did he hit you? And she says he grabbed me by the face and pushed me away.
Slap the face or what?
Remember, at this point, she's all up on him. So he pushes her. He grabs her by the chin and pushes her away. Mm-hmm. And the officer says, but did he hurt you? Did he hit you? No, he didn't hit me. She basically says, I was the instigator. I was the one that was, doing all this. So the police officers then go talk to their lieutenant and they go back and forth and decide what to do. Now, this is a domestic violence case as far as they know. And they also know that in domestic violence situations, you don't always get the straight story. Mm-hmm. If the person being abused rarely says, yeah, he's been abusing me for years. Usually they'll, no, I'm fine. Just everything's good. So they're trying to make sure that they're both safe and that they don't know what to do. Who do they arrest? Do they arrest her? Because she's the one that's admitting to being the aggressor and he's the one with the scratches all over him.
How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me to come in.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
So attempt to injure and cause bodily harm is the statute. And she's just saying, I was just trying to get him to stop telling me to calm down. Mm-hmm. She was like, they weren't having a physical altercation at that point. She was angry and frustrated and she was just slapping him for whatever reason.
Yeah. Never tell a woman to calm down.
See?
It's not, it's never good.
Yeah. So she was obviously taking out her frustration on him, which is what she describes. Mm. So now the officer has this information. He has the statute and he knows what her answers are, but he has to do something. So here's the solution to what he decides to do.
I've decided I am not going to cite you for domestic violence matter, okay? It was only going to be a Class B misdemeanor. However, the domestic violence portion of it enhances it. Makes life a major pain in the butt, especially at you're 22, right? So I'm choosing not to cite you today. So you are not going to be charged with anything. All right?
No, she's crying. She's sitting there crying.
I am separating between you tonight. Okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of the dome, okay? So, you're gonna...
So, where's she supposed to go? Where's he supposed to go with living in the van?
Right, so here's what they did. So, they decide they're going to separate them for the night. What they do is because remember, she's the aggressor. He's in this situation considered the victim. Mm-hmm. So they give her the keys to the van and they say, you're going to go stay. And they tell her where there's a place not too far from where they're standing, where there's there's a shower and there's a place where she can park the van and I don't know, whatever kind of campgrounds that you can sleep in a van or whatever.
Right.
So there's a campgrounds nearby. They say, that's where you're going. We're taking him somewhere else. That's all she knows. He's going somewhere else.
Okay. So they're going to handle his sleeping arrangements.
They put him in the other Suburban and they said to him, do not contact her. He's like, I don't even have my cell phone. I don't even have a cell phone. Mm-hmm. They said, do not contact her. We're taking you to a hotel. He's like, where? Which one? He said, we're not telling you. You'll see when you get there. We don't want her to know where you are staying. The whole purpose of splitting them up was to protect, they thought in this situation, him.
Right.
So they take him to an undisclosed location, as far as she's concerned, which is a hotel, and they spend the night apart. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is all August 12th. On August 24th. So let's fast forward a little bit. So they get them back together. Everything, I don't know if it's fine or not fine. We're not really sure. We're not privy to what happens between the 12th and the 24th. So Gabby had been FaceTiming with her family about 2 to 3 times a week, depending on where they were. Could she get Wi-Fi, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. On August 24th, she has a FaceTime call with her mom. That is the last time anybody in her family heard from her, technically, and I'll tell you why technically. She does post a photo on her Instagram the next day, on August 25th. Did she post it? Did he post it? We don't know. We don't know who posted it. Mm-hmm. This is where it gets dicey. The family got texts from her on August 30th saying, sorry you haven't heard from me in 6 days, but we've been in Yellowstone and we lost cell service.
Okay.
The mother thinks that that's bullshit and that whatever happened to her had already happened to her by then. You know, whether he killed her, whether she died by accident, or we don't know. Mm-hmm. But at this point, the mother is convinced her daughter's gone. And on the 30th, Brian texts from her phone to the mom.
Yeah, he didn't call. He sent a text, or she sent a text. Then there was no FaceTime. So
right. Exactly. Did not FaceTime, sent a text and said, cell service is dicey. Sorry, just a text. I'll hit you up when I can. Mm-hmm. However he phrased it. But it was something that it alarmed the mom, not just that she hadn't heard from her daughter in 6 days, but something about the text didn't sit right with her. But she doesn't say anything at this point because as far as she knows, they're still on their trip and she'll hear from her daughter the next day. Mm-hmm. That is not what happened. Brian arrives home to Florida on September 1st by himself. Okay, so here's the thing. If the text was on the 30th, he did not drive from Wyoming to Florida in a day. Mm-hmm. So clearly, something happened. Like I said, August 25th was the last we heard from her, if you consider the IG post. So sometime between August 25th and September 1st, something happened to her, and Brian hightailed it out of there. He drives back to Florida in the van, and he's quiet. He doesn't call police. He doesn't say my girlfriend's missing. He doesn't say a word. The first thing he does is lawyer up.
Really? Really?
Okay. That's September 1st. The family is like, where's my daughter?
Mm-hmm.
And they call him. He doesn't answer. They're trying to get an answer out of him, out of her. They're calling the cell phone. They're getting no response. It's not until September 11th that the family reports her missing. I don't know why it took them 10 days, or I don't know what the 10-day layover was. I don't really understand how any of that works. If I don't know what the reason was 10 days passed, because for me, if I was the mom, you would think that in 3 days, you'd be like, I haven't heard from her. That's it. Where is she?
Mm-hmm.
So
3 hours. 3 hours that he shows up.
Me and my mom.
And she's not in that van. Where the hell is she?
Yeah, my mom, even though she knows I'm on the air with you, she still continues to text and call me while we're on. I'm on the air, 7 to 8 p.m. Give me a break. Just 1 hour a day. Give me a break. No. So anyway, for whatever reason, they report her missing officially on September 11th.
Mm-hmm.
They reported her, not him. Remember, he's already back in Florida by himself. 2 people went out. 1 came back.
Right. That's not the right math.
No. Brian is refusing to tell Gabby's family where he last saw her.
Mm-hmm.
He's refusing to explain why he left her alone, if he did indeed leave her alone, because I think the implication from his family is they had a fight and she said, I'm flying home. And he said, fine. And he left her at an airport somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Or train station or bus.
At a train station. Well, probably an airport, because I think the last place his cell phone ping was Wyoming, I think, before he turned it off. I think that's what I read.
Mm-hmm.
So he's refusing to say anything. He's not explaining anything. Yesterday, Brian was finally named a person of interest. We've been waiting for this to happen. They needed enough evidence. They have enough evidence for him to be a person of interest, but not a suspect, you see. So you have to wait till you have more evidence, but they do have the van. And they're looking for witnesses, and they're looking at where all the cell phones pinging. So they're doing the investigation right now. But police did have a press conference, and it was kind of interesting, some of the things that came out in the press conference.
We don't know what Brian knows. I mean, that's the bottom line. And we're hopeful to talk to him. He needs to talk to us. We need to know exactly where he was, where she was, their last locations. In that, the fact that he was back here for 10 days, there was, again, the family reported her missing 10 days later.
Right. That's really the key right there. So they got a statement from Brian's attorney, Brian Laundrie, the potential suspect here, the person of interest.
Mm-hmm.
They got a statement from his attorney that said he is not going to cooperate. He's refusing to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason he's giving, according to his attorney, is that it's always the spouse or the significant other, and he doesn't want to be accused of something that he might not have done, considering just because he's the only other person.
Okay.
So, but what's really interesting, so he kept his Instagram page up. And if you go to his Instagram page, every comment on there is, where is she, Brian?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us where she is. Do the right thing. Brian, where is Gabby?
Yeah, I don't like this story at all because the father moved to Florida also. So her father lives in Florida.
Right.
And he's saying, Brian, tell us where she is. I don't understand that as a father, why you would talk to Brian through the media and say, tell us where she is. I would get in my car, I would go get Brian, I would tie him to a chair, and I would do things to his nuts that you don't want done to your nuts until you tell me where the hell she is. That's how this ends.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. The police can't do that because, they have to obey the law. They have certain ways that they can interrogate. But you're right. Gabby's father is not a police officer. He is not sworn to interrogate in a certain way. You're right. He can do whatever he wants to do.
No, we would slowly cut off fingers and toes until you talked. If you're the last person to see her, even if you are completely innocent, you're going to lose a couple of fingers and a couple of toes and maybe another two, because we're going to get real serious here. You're not going to tell me I'm not going to talk. That's not going to happen.
Right.
I'm calling a couple of buddies of mine, and we're getting car batteries out of our car. Things are going to happen to you. You tell us right now where she is.
Right. Even if you're in your house with your parents and they're trying to protect you, everybody has to sleep.
Right. I mean, it's like the parents who go on TV when their kid is missing, and saying, oh, I wish they would come home. And if you have them. No, I would be an atom bomb. I would destroy every person within a 5-mile radius of my house until my kid is returned. I would slowly take out each house,
Right. I know that, in your movie, in your head, you're the superhero, you do all this stuff. But in real life, only one person has to call the police and they can get a restraining order against you. And if you violate that restraining order.
Oh, I can't come near you because of that piece of paper. You lose my daughter in the Sahara Desert. I'm putting things on your nuts. I'm sorry.
Right.
Oh, I have a restraining order. Okay, well, that's good for you. You take it with us. Yeah. I'll staple it to your forehead. Bring it with you. No, you can't say I'm not going to talk. No, you are going to talk.
But I'm sure they have attorneys and they have detectives who are saying to them, I know this is difficult. I know you want to go there and put things on his nuts and bring car batteries and bring your friends, but you have to show some restraint because there's a way we will get the answer out of him. We will get him to talk. You have to be patient.
No, my daughter
that's the
is
hardest
missing.
thing.
Every second counts. Every second that she's not with me, she could be in the forest. She could have her arm cut off. I don't know. We have to find out now. I'm not wasting time going through lawyers. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's not how we work here. I'm taking him tonight at 8:00. I'm telling you now, you better put him in a halfway house because I'm taking him when he sleeps.
And the thing is, it's not like the parents are from Utah where there's a certain way that people behave there. They're from Long Island. They're from Suffolk County where you and I lived. So they're street like us. I'm surprised that the parents are not over there with several shotguns. I wouldn't be, you're right. I would not be able to contain myself knowing that there is somebody who is alive who knows where my daughter is. Just tell, where's the last place you saw her? Just cooperate. The fact that he doesn't cooperate tells you that he obviously is complicit in whatever happened to her.
No, I know 4 guys that I could call right now in Suffolk County that would join me and help putting things on his nuts. I mean, hey, Brooklyn, I need you. And he'd be like, okay. He wouldn't even think twice. This guy might have my daughter. I'll be right over.
Yeah.
Should I
bring something to put on his nuts? Yes, please bring something to put on his nuts.
So, pretty much every guy I know in Suffolk County would be there if I called him and said, I need you to put something on his nuts.
But see, you're articulating why this story is really capturing so much media attention. Well, I will say my boyfriend said that if she wasn't white, it wouldn't be getting so much attention. So there's, the fact that she's a little white blonde woman.
Right.
Also has a lot to do with it. But putting that aside, which sounds really, I don't mean to say it like that, like putting that aside, like it's nothing. Mm-hmm. It isn't nothing. It's something. And it's a very important point and a very important issue that we're just not going to go into here on the show. But we acknowledge it. We acknowledge that there's a reason why her story is more interesting than other missing children and missing people in this country.
It's like Natalie Holloway. We had to follow that story. We had to know everything about it. And I think this is one of them because there's so many things involved in this story, from their own YouTube channel to the police footage to everything is just like a movie.
Right.
And this dude's not talking. And the dad's a Long Islander.
This almost feels like the Shannon Watts story. People have been saying that they've been watching some videos of Brian Laundrie and saying they're getting major Chris Watts vibes from him, but he's not saying anything. So I don't think you can't really get a vibe from him. the two of them in their videos and their Instagram, you should go and look because it's kind of interesting. They both come across like these really loving, spiritual, earthy, save the planet, do yoga, don't eat animals kind of people. But then we see this domestic violence situation and the fact that they weren't getting along they went out July 2nd. They're fighting by August 12th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to know how it ends. But no, you can't.
Where is she? Yeah.
Where is she? And you can't
if
tell
she
me
was
I'm
alive,
not
if she
talking.
was alive, we would have heard from her. Somebody would have heard from her by now. So she's clearly not. It's not like she's being kept somewhere, and she can't get to her phone. No, I mean it's. I think it's pretty obvious at this point, this many days later, that she's probably no longer with us, which is why this is very sad. The mystery continues.
He would be talking by tomorrow morning. I guarantee it.
With stuff on his nuts.
With stuff on his nuts and a car battery hooked up to his wiener. I mean, he would tell you everything you need to know, even things you didn't even ask. He would
right,
let
he would tell you that too. Yeah.